So I ran my second half marathon on Sunday. I think it was May the 16th, May the 15th. Either way, I flew out to Philadelphia and I rented a car and I drove to Atlantic City. It was for the Rock and Roll Half Marathon. Getting to Atlantic City was a bit of a challenge. It wasn't a straight flight into the city. You had to drive an hour to get there. You could have flown in Atlantic City, but it was a smaller airport. I didn't take into account hotel reservations, all of this good stuff that you should take into account. So I ended up spending a few pennies on this trip. But whenever I actually plan a trip for business, I actually pray about it and I check in with my spirit to find out if this is something I should do. And I did that and I got the green light. When I got to Philadelphia, guys, it was a cool flight. I got on the plane. I got to the Philadelphia International Airport and I had a car rental. I rented a car and then I drove. I'm in the rental car. It's time to go. I'm driving to my hotel. I'm going to settle, go map out the course, and then I am going to eat probably around 3 o'clock. Well, I got lost because Philadelphia Airport had some construction. I went all around the mulberry bush and I was lost. I couldn't get out. Finally, as I started going in the direction, I clicked on the wrong driving directions and ended up in a whole different part of the city of New Jersey. I wasn't going to the coast. I was going somewhere else. And so it took me 2 hours instead of 1 hour. But nevertheless, I made it to my hotel and I was able to go and check in at the Expo. When I got to the Expo, I just picked up my bib, took some pictures, and, just prepared myself. I ate a good dinner at, I think it was Applebee's that I ate at. I had some pasta and some bread, and I drank tons and tons of water. That has been my biggest challenge being a runner, is having enough hydration, getting enough water into my body. The day of the race, it was very, very foggy and it was very humid. I am here, guys. It's officially going down. Most of you have seen the people are lining up and getting warmed up. This was the beginning of the race. Very excited. I was all alone, solo, running by myself, but there were hundreds of other runners from all over. A lot of people came from over the East Coast. A lot of people were from Baltimore, people were from Maryland, people were from New York, people were from Jersey. Met a few people. And I was in wave 8. I know, I'm already slow. It's okay. I did not have a problem with that. And I set the goal to complete my race in 3 hours or less, because my first half marathon, y'all know, I ran, I think it was 3 hours and 5 minutes or something like that. 3 hours and 3 minutes, something like that. So I came in here thinking, yes, I want to finish, but let's set a goal. And my goal is let's finish less than 3 hours. As I started out, the very first feelings that I was feeling was, this feels good, I'm excited, but as always, in the back of your mind, what if I have to go to the bathroom? I ate everything that I knew I should eat. I had all of my hydration. I had my vest on, had my water. I also had some goos. I had 4 goos. I had a wafer in the back, which was not a good decision to wear in the back. And I had pickle juice, and I think that was it. And so I was worried because I didn't train like I should have with all of my hydration and my nutrition. I didn't train exactly like I wanted to, but it all worked out. So the first couple of miles, I did feel that I had like a bit of like my hips started to just give me a little notice that and I was like, oh no, this is only mile 2. You cannot start acting up at mile 2 because we have a whole nother 11 miles to run. So cut it out. And so, but I know that the first mile or 2 and even to 3, my body is still getting used to it. I know people say mile 1 is a liar, but for me, it doesn't start to settle until about mile 3. Got to mile 3, and here the fog got really, really bad. First I thought, oh, the heavens open up. We're going to be able to see the water. Y'all, it was foggy. I had condensation on my eyelashes. And I was like, ooh, 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 ooh. And, but it was cool because the weather wasn't so humid and hot that I couldn't breathe. It was a comfortable temperature, it was cool, but it was just humid and wet and foggy. Mile 4, 5, we came up on a ramp. And so that was like one of the 2 elevations on this entire course. This course was flat, y'all. I was like, ooh, yes, because in Georgia, hills for days and days and days. Everybody that's from Georgia, can I get an amen? Okay. And so the course was really flat with the exception of a couple of hills, baby hills. And I was so proud of myself because here in Georgia, I loathe them because they're everywhere. But I ran, I dug in, and I was going up those hills like they told me to lean forward. And everybody else around me in my group, they walked them. So I felt really proud that I was able to take and challenge and go up those hills like my mentors tell me to just accept the hills and just go. When we got into town, it was boring. I must say the course was not very exciting, especially because it was so foggy. You couldn't see anything. But on the streets of downtown Atlantic City, lackluster, might I say. There weren't a lot of people out cheering for us. There was a couple of people and they were like, all right, look, all right. And it's so different because in Georgia, y'all know, if y'all from Georgia, can I get an amen? The people are out in the streets cheering you on. You got a crowd of other people like, woo, you got people with signs and bells and tambourines. Y'all, Atlantic City was like, what are they doing? Okay, anyway, let me finish eating my chicken. It was not the best energy, okay? And as we got on the boardwalk was a wooden boardwalk on the water, and my whole purpose of going for this race was to be able to run on the beach, and I did not see not one wave because it was so much fog. But at this point, I was tired. I had eaten probably 4 goos at the time. I think I had maybe 6 total, but I had eaten 4. I gotten some from the volunteers. Every time we would get to a stop for water, I didn't stop. I just kind of took a sip every time we would come up to the table, so I would knew this is hydration time. So I drank probably about every 30 minutes, and I had a goo every 45 minutes. And so I thought, this will keep me going. I was still worried that I would have to poop, but I didn't. Yes, I did not. We got to mile 9, 10. My body was so tired. I had 5 goos at this point. I had pickle juice at this point. I was almost out of water. I ran out of water around mile 12, and I was like, how are we going to make it? But I was not having any pain in my IT band. Thank the Lord. I had on 2 bands. That was so helpful. Shout out to the lady in the Facebook group that recommended it. They were miracle workers because I did not have any pain in my knee and my IT band. I was like golden. But my pace stayed consistent the entire time. There was no increase in the beginning, slow down at the end. I was right around 13, 20, 13, 15, about that time. And y'all, I finished. Wait, let me go back because I was trying to stay with the pacer, and then I realized the pacer was going a little faster than I could. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to stress out about this. I am going to finish when I finish. And if that means after 3 hours, that's okay too. But I was like, let me do the calculation, because if I run at 13, 15, 13, 20 the entire way and I don't stop, I can still finish less than 3 hours. And I am happy to report I finished with 2 hours, 57 minutes, y'all. So I'm so excited because it is a personal best of mine. I'm super stoked. Here's me at the end of the race. And when I look at the first half marathon that I did here in Atlanta, number one, tons and tons and tons of hills. But I hadn't trained very well. I hadn't trained as well as I wanted to with this one. But at the end of the first race, I could barely walk. Like, my friends ran me in. It was such an emotional experience because I had injuries and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And I finished. But y'all, for days, probably a week, I was walking like a robot because my joints were tight. My hip was hurting. My IT band, which was affecting my knee, was hurting. And it was just completely different this time around. After I finished, I walked it off. I had some French fries. I laid and rolled. They had some foam rollers out there, some yoga mats. I took time out and I just was in the moment. I got my medal, took some pictures, and I was just happy. I was smiling. I was not in pain. I was so grateful that I ran a half marathon, the second one ever in my life. Never, ever wanting to run that long for 3 hours. That was not some of my goals in the years past. And having this new experience was such a spiritual experience for me. Running is not just a physical task that I do. It's a very spiritual task, and it's allowed me to go from having depression, managing my depression with the help of therapy and also with the help of God. But this is an activity that I can take ownership of. And running was that thing for me that I could take control and say, if I start this habit, I can actually impact the way that I feel, the way that my mentality is, and I can snap myself out of certain emotions. And so the second half, it made me feel like this, y'all, for real. So I know some people like, I don't ever want to have to run that long again. I was like, ooh, it was long. 3 hours is long. Okay, but we have Chicago coming up, and Chicago's a full marathon. Oh my God, I'm intimidated. But listen, if you are able to go from not being able to run 60 seconds at the beginning of this journey 2.5 years ago, and now be able to run not only one half marathon, but two, and take time off it every time that you run, girl, what else can you do? Is there not anything that you can't do? And so that is my thoughts. This half marathon was an amazing experience for me. It gave me the courage and the confidence that if I'm able to do this, then I can set the bar and I can go further and I can stretch my limits and just go for it. In October, we're doing a full, and it's in my hometown. And it's gonna be so spectacular because it's my birthday. October is my birthday month. It's the city where my daddy lives or lived. He passed away, so it'll be in remembrance of him, and it is my hometown. Coming home to do the first full marathon. I'm so excited about it. But thanks so much. Until next time.